In 1987, a farmer outside a tiny Missouri town walked into his shed, flipped a switch, and lit the room without using the power grid, a generator, or a solar panel. Buried beneath the field behind him were 12 copper pipes, 12 zinc rods, and ordinary wire. His neighbors laughed when they watched him dig. A month later, their electric bills arrived. His did not. For more than 30 years, that underground system powered workshop lights, charged radios, and kept security equipment running through storms that knocked out electricity across the county. He called it an earth battery. The power companies called it nothing at all. And that silence is exactly why most people have never heard of it. Because if homeowners understood that damp soil, copper, and zinc could generate steady current, billions of dollars tied to backup batteries, generators, installation fees, and utility charges would suddenly become harder to justify. The principle is almost embarrassingly simple. Push copper into moist ground, place zinc nearby, connect them with wire. Minerals and moisture in the soil act like the liquid inside a conventional battery. Zinc releases electrons, copper attracts them. The wire gives those electrons a path. That movement is electricity. One pair may produce less than a volt, but connect 12 pairs in series and the voltage begins stacking. Suddenly you have enough potential to run LED strips, low power cameras, small fans, radios, charging stations, and emergency equipment. No monthly payment. The ground does the work 24 hours a day. This was not invented by an internet survivalist. The idea goes back almost 200 years. In the 1840s, inventors were already burying dissimilar metals to operate clocks and communication equipment. Later, remote telegraph stations reportedly used earth-based cells because hauling conventional batteries across enormous distances was expensive and unreliable. The information was never truly hidden. It was placed in documents so dull and technical that almost nobody would ever read them. Once the modern utility industry controlled how electricity was produced, delivered, measured, and billed, there was little incentive to remind people about a system that could sit underground for years without creating a customer. Electricity is generated somewhere else. You are charged for producing it, moving it across transmission lines, distributing it locally, maintaining the meter, and servicing the account. An earth battery removes nearly every link in that chain. You buy the materials once. You install the system once. There is no meter watching it, no company setting the rate, no fuel delivery, financing agreement, service contract, or subscription. That is why nobody advertises this during the evening news. There is no recurring profit in teaching people how to bury two metals in dirt. A basic 12-cell setup uses copper pipe, zinc-coated rods, solid copper wire, clamps, and a voltmeter. Depending on where you shop, the system can cost less than one large monthly electric bill. The cells are buried several feet deep, where soil moisture stays more stable. Each hole contains one copper electrode and one zinc electrode, separated by a few inches so they cannot touch. The copper from one cell connects to the zinc of the next, forming a chain. Once all 12 are connected, two terminal wires remain. The most surprising part is how ordinary the construction looks. There is no polished control box, no glowing screen, and no technician standing beside it with a tablet. The system begins with 12 holes arranged across a shaded patch of ground. Each one receives a copper pipe and a zinc rod, spaced far enough apart to prevent contact, but close enough to share the same damp soil. The cells are then connected one after another, copper to zinc, until the separate reactions behave like a single larger battery. Loose connections weaken the chain, so every clamp must be tightened and protected from surface moisture. The final positive and negative leads can be routed into a shed, greenhouse, or root cellar. Builders who live in sandy regions sometimes surround the electrodes with moisture-holding clay. In colder climates, they bury the cells below the shallow layer that freezes first. Some add extra pairs, so the system continues producing usable voltage when winter slows the movement of ions through the ground. That adaptability is what makes the idea so difficult to dismiss. It does not depend on one brand, one climate, or one expensive component. It can be enlarged, repaired, and tested using materials found in nearly any hardware store. If one cell weakens, you do not replace the entire system. You test the grid, find the failing connection, and replace a rod or tighten a clamp. The rest remains underground, quietly producing current. To the utility industry, that is the worst possible kind of invention. Understandable, repairable, and owned completely by the person using it. There is no software update, locked battery pack, authorized installer, or monthly monitoring fee standing between you and the electricity beneath your property. Once installed, it keeps working silently while the world above continues paying for power. Attach a voltmeter and the display begins climbing. 3 volts, 6 volts, 9 volts, sometimes more. That first reading feels like discovering something you were never supposed to see. Your yard has been sitting there your entire life, holding moisture, minerals, and electrical potential, while utility companies convinced you that useful power could only come from massive plants, expensive panels, or batteries sealed inside plastic boxes. The soil matters. Rich, damp ground produces stronger results than dry sand. Clay holds moisture against the electrodes. Mineral-heavy soil helps ions move. Dry regions may require bentonite clay around each cell to keep water near the metal. And yes, the zinc eventually corrodes. That is not a defect. It is the source of the reaction. The zinc acts as a sacrificial metal, gradually giving up material while electrons travel toward the copper. Replacement rods are cheap, and a properly buried system can continue operating for years before maintenance is required. A small earth battery is not meant to run an electric oven, central air conditioner, or clothes dryer. Those devices demand enormous power. The real advantage is continuous, silent electricity for smaller loads. Workshop lighting, emergency radios, security sensors, trail cameras, ventilation fans, USB charging, monitoring systems, devices that do not need thousands of watts but become incredibly valuable when the grid fails. Imagine a storm tearing through your neighborhood at midnight. Every house goes dark. Routers shut down. Cameras stop recording. Phones begin losing charge. People search garages for generators that have not been tested in years. But behind your house, 12 cells remain buried 3 feet underground. No engine needs to start. No fuel needs to be stored. No panel needs sunlight. Your lights remain on. Your radio still works. Your security system keeps watching the driveway. And the source of that power is hidden beneath soil everyone else considers useless. It represents a kind of independence the modern energy industry cannot easily package, finance, meter, or control. A system like this does not ask permission. It does not wait for a technician. It does not care whether fuel prices rise or the utility announces another increase. Copper, zinc, moisture, wire. 4 ordinary materials creating a result that sounds impossible only because most people were never taught to look for it. So walk into your backyard and choose where your grid would go. Look down at the ground beneath your feet. A few feet below the surface, the soil is cooler, wetter, and filled with dissolved minerals. It is weighted there through every blackout, every price increase, and every warning that energy is becoming more expensive. The power was never missing. The knowledge was. And once you understand the earth battery, you may never look at an empty patch of dirt the same way again.